So let's talk about something that feels like it's straight out of a movie, but is very, very real. How in the world does a system as massive as the IRS actually keep track of everyone? Every single year, thousands of people try to do it. They try to go off grid, to just vanish from the financial system. They think they can become invisible. And here's the thing, almost all of them fail. And it's not because of one dumb mistake or just bad luck. It's because they fundamentally misunderstand what they're really up against. So, why is it so hard? What's the secret? Well, that is exactly what we are going to break down. It all starts with a huge misconception, what I call the illusion of invisibility. Most people think they know how the system works, but they're usually focused on the completely wrong thing. So here's the popular idea. The system only cares about big money, right? Huge transactions. But the reality is so much more subtle. The system isn't really looking for big fish. It's designed to detect broken patterns, no matter how small. And that brings us to the key word for this whole thing, inconsistency. An inconsistency is any financial move that just doesn't fit the pattern you've already established. That's the one signal the entire system is built to hear through all the noise. Think about it like this. If you report that you make, say, $30,000 a year, but your spending looks more like you make $90,000, you haven't become invisible. You've actually just become a really loud signal. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. We think we're in control of our own financial story because, we're the ones filing our taxes. But the truth is, you are not the only one reporting on your life. So if other people are reporting on you, what does that mean? Well, it means there's this massive automated system working completely in the background. The system you don't even see. Every time you swipe a card, get a paycheck, send money on Venmo, it creates a little digital breadcrumb, a record. This isn't just sometimes. It happens every single time, automatically. Your bank, your job, all those payment apps, they're all reporting this stuff. So here's how it works. Each of those little records is just one data point. On its own, it's pretty much meaningless. But over time, as they're all collected, the system starts connecting the dots. And eventually, they form a unique financial fingerprint. That's your pattern. And once that pattern is clear, everything changes. You're not just some anonymous person in a giant database anymore. You're predictable. And that means the system doesn't have to watch you. It just has to know your pattern, because any deviation is going to stand out immediately. This whole predictability thing is why so many people fail when they try to disappear. They make these critical mistakes based on really bad assumptions. Let's go through the top 3. All right, first up, we've got the classic mistake, the one everyone thinks is the ultimate loophole. Ah, yes. The belief that using cash is basically an invisibility cloak. If there's no digital trail, it never happened, right? Well, not exactly. Here's the big flaw in that plan. You can't hide your lifestyle. You can pay for a nice car in cash, sure, but everyone can still see you driving that car. That huge gap between the income you report and the life you're actually living, it doesn't just go away. It becomes a giant question mark. And that, of course, leads us right into the second big mistake, which is usually an attempt to solve that exact problem. So people will try to funnel money through a friend's account or a relative's, thinking it'll muddy the waters and hide their trail. But this totally backfires. Instead of hiding your pattern, you've now just created 2 messy, corrupted patterns. And all that overlap doesn't create confusion for the system. It actually creates a bigger, more complex signal that's often even easier to flag. And now for mistake number 3. This one is maybe the most dangerous just because it feels so harmless. This is the idea that the small numbers don't really matter. A few $100s here, $1,000 there. It's just too small for a giant system like this to care about, right? But the system isn't always looking at the dollar amount. It's looking at the behavior. A small, repeated inconsistency can be a much stronger red flag than one big transaction. In fact, these little deviations are often the exact thing that kicks off a much deeper look. So with all these different signals and broken patterns, how does someone actually get flagged? Well, it's rarely a sudden thing. It's a process. Check out this timeline. On day 1, a small inconsistency gets logged. It might be tiny. Nothing happens. A year later, the system is still just collecting data, comparing it against your pattern. By year 2, what started as a single blip is now a clear pattern of things not adding up. And then, action's triggered.
For the person, it feels like it came out of nowhere, but in reality, it was building the whole time.
Okay, this brings us to the final and I think the most important part of all this. We really need to reframe how we think about this whole idea of tracking. The biggest misconception is thinking the system is always watching everything you do. It's not. And what's really fascinating is that it's so powerful because it doesn't need to. Its true power is based on a much simpler idea: consistency. As long as your financial life follows its own predictable pattern, you are, for all practical purposes, invisible. You just blend in with the millions of other consistent patterns out there. But the moment that pattern breaks, the second you do something that doesn't fit your own history, you stop blending in, you stand out. The system isn't looking for you. Your own actions are what make you suddenly become visible. And I want to leave you with this final thought. When someone tries to break the rules, they might think they're being clever or original, but they're not. They're just falling into a different kind of pattern, a pattern of behavior the system has seen thousands of times before. And patterns? Well, that's exactly what it was built to find.